What's up guys, Asian here again with another theory crafting video, and today we're going to be discussing the three different types of healing modifiers that are in the game and how they interact with things like out heals that you're putting out as well as self heals that you're doing on yourself. So this was a request from a YouTube's commenter. I don't have the name right in front of me right now, but they kind of wanted to know what the difference was between healing done, healing taken, and healing received, the three different healing modifiers that are in the game right now. So I figured instead of just kind of saying it all in words, I might as well show you guys exactly how they all interact with things like healing that you're able to output, as well as the self heals that you take, because these modifiers, especially healing taken and healing received, they're more pertinent for tanks, less so for DPS and healers, while healing done is really only pertinent to healers. So a lot of this is going to be from the perspective of a tank compared to a healer or a DPS, but regardless, the actual mechanics of how it works remain the same across all the different roles. So the names healing done, healing received, and healing taken all seem pretty self-explanatory on the surface, but there are a few sort of weird things that you might not necessarily consider when you think about specifically healing received and healing taken. So healing done, as you guys can imagine, just refers to the heals that you're able to output. So these are things like healing springs, energy orbs, vigor, if you're hitting other people with your vigor, for example. That just implies just how much additional healing your moves are able to do, compared to healing received, which, as the name sort of implies, only applies to healing that you receive from other sources. So if you're the one getting hit by healing springs, or you're the one getting hit by vigor, if you have any sort of healing received modifiers, that increases the healing that those moves do to you. That does not necessarily impact the tooltip on the original caster's ability. So let's say your healing springs heals for 2,000 every second, and you hit somebody with minor vitality, which gives 8% additional healing received. Your tooltip does not go up by 8% as a result, but the person that you are hitting with healing springs will see an 8% increase on that 2,000 tick initially. Then you have healing taken. Healing taken is very similar to healing received in the fact that it affects all heals that you personally take. So those are all heals that you get from other people, as well as heals that you do to yourself. And healing received also operates in a very similar fashion, where it not only impacts heals that you receive from other people, but also heals that you receive from yourself. And again, very similar to healing received, healing taken does not necessarily does not impact the tooltip indicator on any sort of abilities. So again, if you're at 2k healing springs, you'll not see that 4% reflected even if you're the one with the healing taken modifier. It will only impact the actual heal that you see in combat metrics, in the floating combat numbers, combat cloud, things like that. So healing done is typically seen through passives, as well as the two buffs, minor mending and major mending. Minor mending gives you 8%, major mending gives you 25% increased healing done. Healing received, also very similar, comes from mostly skill passives and two buffs, minor vitality and major vitality. Same sort of thing here, 8%, 25%. Healing taken, on the other hand, is only really seen on armor pieces. So for example, here in Ebon, you have 4% healing taken on the 4 piece here. So you don't really see healing taken on any sort of passives or any sort of abilities very often, if at all. It's normally just reserved to just purely armor modifiers, those armor set bonuses here. So again, instead of just closing the video here and saying, okay, that's it, we're done, I thought I'd give you guys kind of a actual representative, like actual in skill kind of representation of how all these modifiers interact with each other. So healing done, healing received, and healing taken, they're all multiplicative with each other. This can be confirmed by going onto USP's build editor and taking a look at your healing modifier on the right hand column of all those statistics that they give for you. So if you have, let's say, minor mending, and you have minor vitality, and you have, in this case, Ebon, you will have 8% times 8% times 4% added on to whatever tooltip that you have. So stacking all these healing modifiers is going to be a little bit stronger than just comparing them additively. So rather than having 8 plus 8 plus 4, which would be 16, which would be 20% additional healing, instead you would get something like the 8 times 8 times 4, which is 25.6% additional healing rather than that 20%. So it does end up making them a little bit stronger than just pure additive scaling here. Alright, so just to kind of show you guys how healing done, healing received, and healing taken all work, I am on my Dragonite right now, so I'll be able to show you guys all three different sort of heal lines here. So Major Mending is going to be coming from Fragmented Shield, and Major Mending does impact tooltips. So our tooltip we're going to be using is going to be Dissolving Vigor here. And you can see here Dissolving Vigor heals for 7164 and 5544. And if I just also need to put down armor here. So Major Mending should give us a 25% increase on the tooltip because we don't have any other modifiers on hand right now. Again, Healing Done is the only modifier out of these three that will impact the actual tooltips. We'll also see when we use Balance and we swap to our back bar that this value should be cut in half. So if we go ahead and use Fragmented Shield, look over our tooltip, we'll see that the tooltip did go up by about 25%. Then if we go ahead and use Balance here, go to our tooltip, you see it got cut in half. Now, Healing Done, Healing Taken, Healing Received modifiers are additive with themselves. So if I were to do Fragmented Shield for the Major Mending and then Balance, I would actually end up seeing a 25% reduction in the tooltip for Vigor. So again, the tooltip for Vigor is about 7k or so. So we would be seeing, if my mental math is correct, somewhere around 52, 53 once we have both Balance and Major Mending. About 46, so a little bit less than that. I think my mental math might have been a little bit off, but that's kind of how it all works. Now for Healing Received, we're going to be using the product line here, Burning Heart, which increases our healing by 12% with Dissolving Vigor. So one of the things that we're just going to wait for Balance to run out here, is again the fact that it doesn't impact our tooltip. So our tooltip right now is 7164. We go ahead and just use Hardened Armor. We can see that it does not impact our tooltip, but it does impact the amount of healing that we get. First, I'm just going to lower my health so we can actually see the numbers popping up on the screen here. I gotta wait for the Balance debuff to completely go away. See here, I'm healing for 1489 while Hardened Armor is up. And you saw that last tick was 1340 when it was not up and we didn't have that 12% additional healing received. So 1340 compared to, oh, my health went all the way back up, so I have to cut it again. 1340 compared to 1489. So go ahead and do the math here. 1489 minus 1340. This is all off screen, by the way. Oops, put in the wrong number here. That ends up being about 11.1%. So there's probably another modifier in here that's not really being accounted for. I can't really think off the top of my head, but you can see that it is a rough approximation or so. There's probably some rounding that's going on behind the scenes in the game calculations that are resulting in slightly lower ticks that are happening. It might also just be the way that ticks are divided up among values because they do not necessarily split evenly when you divide them all by 5. And so if we do both Healing Received from Hardened Armor and Major Mending from Fragmented Shield, we should see a 25 times 12. We should see, let me just do it real quick, we should see about a, hold on, whoops, sorry. We should see about a 40% increase in our healing. So if we were to take that from the initial 1340 and we multiply that by 40%, we should see 1876 as our healing. I forgot, I might have my full health, so I do need to cut my health down so that way we can see it. Balance right out. It's 1913, so it's a little bit stronger. Again, there might be some back-end calculations that are resulting in a slightly higher modifier, but that's how they interact with each other. They interact a little bit more multiplicatively. So if they were interacting additively, it would be a lot lower than that. So again, the calculated value that I got was it should be a 40% increase with 25 times 12%, and then our initial healing tick was 1340, and we multiply that by the 1.4, which gave us 1876. The 1913 was closer to that value than it was if we were just to add them up and get a value of 37% increase. And finally, Healing Taken. So Healing Taken, like I said, is very, very similar to Healing Received in the fact that it impacts all healing that you receive from other other sources as well as sources that you do to yourself. So if you take off these two values, these two Evans pieces, so we lose that healing taken. Our value, once it recovers back up, is still 7164. So we still have the exact same tooltip to get rid of the balance debuff. See that it is lower, 1194 compared to the 1340. So 1194, 1340. Again, this math is off screen here. That is, oops, I think I reversed the numbers here. 4. That is about a 12% increase in the tooltip, say in the healing ticks. So again, there might be some modifiers that I'm not accounting for right now. Fortunately, I can't really think of them off the top of my head, but there might just be some additional modifiers that I'm not accounting for with the healing taken. But they do all stack multiplicatively with each other. So basically what it stands for is healing received and healing taken you can pretty much treat as the exact same things, even though they interact differently with each other. They're not additive, they are multiplicative with each other. Healing done is only healing that you do to other people, and that does also include yourself. So a tank with self-heals, healing done, healing received, healing taken, they all impact your self-heals. For a healer, on the other hand, only healing done actually impacts the healing that you're able to do. For DPS, healing received is the only thing that'll modify how much healing that you're actually being able to take in. So any healing done modifiers that you put on yourself will only impact your own self-heals, very similarly to a tank. So that's basically how they all interact with each other. So the kind of TLDW is healing done is any healing that you output, including self-heals. Healing received is any healing that you take in, including self-heals. And healing taken is also healing that you receive from other people, including self-heals. And all three of them are additive with each other, but multiplicative amongst themselves. So that is it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.